People say money changes people. I used to think that wasn't true until I watched it change my best friend. This is the story of how I lost my brother to greed and what happened when karma finally caught up with him. My name is Daniel, and this is a story I never thought I'd have to tell. Mark and I met in our early 20s. We were both broke, both struggling, both dreaming of something better. We shared a tiny one-room apartment in Lagos, 2 mattresses on a concrete floor, one flickering light bulb that went out more times than it stayed on. We ate gari and ground nuts for dinner most nights, but we had something money couldn't buy. We had loyalty. We had brotherhood. Every night before we fell asleep, Mark would talk about the future. His eyes would light up as he described the life we'd have someday. Big houses, nice cars, respect from people who once looked down on us. And I believed him. I believed in us. One night, as we sat in that dark room, Mark turned to me with a serious look on his face. "One day we'll escape this life," he said. "Big cars, big houses, the whole package." I smiled at him, but something in my chest felt heavy. So I made him promise. "Just promise me one thing," I said. "When it happens, don't forget who struggled with you." Mark laughed and put his hand on my shoulder. "Never, bro. Your family." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. Then, one Tuesday night, everything changed. We were lying on our mattresses, scrolling through our phones in silence, when suddenly, Mark's phone lit up. I heard him gasp. I sat up and looked at him, and the expression on his face told me something big had just happened. "What is it?" I asked. He showed me his phone screen. "Congratulations, you've won the national lottery. Prize amount, 50 million naira." My heart stopped. Then it exploded with joy. I jumped up and hugged him so tight. This was it. This was our miracle, our breakthrough, the answer to all our prayers. I was so happy for him, so genuinely, deeply happy. Mark was my brother. His win was my win. That's what I thought. I hugged him and said, "This is your miracle, man. Just don't let it change your heart." He pulled away from me, already distracted by incoming calls and messages. He didn't hear me, or maybe he did and just didn't care anymore. The next few weeks were a blur. Mark collected the money. He moved out of our apartment without telling me. I found out when I came home one day and all his things were gone. No note, no explanation, just gone. I called him. He didn't answer. I sent messages, left on read. When he finally responded days later, it was just, "I needed space, I'll explain later." But later never came. I started seeing him on social media. Expensive clubs, designer clothes, new friends who laughed too loud and smiled too wide, bottles of champagne, cars I couldn't even pronounce the names of. And in every photo, Mark looked different. Not just his clothes or his haircut, his eyes looked different, empty. 1 month passed, then 2. I kept working my small tech job, learning to code, building my skills. I told myself Mark was just busy, that he'd come back, that our friendship meant something. Finally, after 3 months, he invited me to his new place. I took 2 buses and a taxi to get there. The building was in Banana Island. I'd never even been to that part of Lagos before. When I walked into his penthouse apartment, I felt like I'd entered a different world. Marble floors, chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, and Mark standing there in a designer tracksuit looking at me like a stranger. "Wow," I said. "This place is incredible." He barely smiled. "Thanks." There was an awkward silence. I tried to break it. "You moved without telling me," I said, trying to keep my voice light. Mark sighed, like I was bothering him. "I needed space, Dan. This is a different level now. You wouldn't understand." Those words hit me like a punch. I stared at him. "We slept on the same floor, Mark, remember?" He laughed, actually laughed, a cold, bitter sound I'd never heard from him before. That was poverty talking. I've outgrown that life, and maybe I've outgrown some people too. I felt my eyes burn with tears, but I refused to let them fall. Not in front of him, not when he was looking at me like I was nothing. I took a deep breath and said the only thing I could think of. I hope money never leaves you the way you just left me. He didn't respond, just looked at his phone. I walked out of that apartment and cried on the bus ride home. That was the last time I spoke to Mark for 2 years. I heard stories though, everyone did. Mark was living large, parties every weekend, a different car every month. He surrounded himself with people who only knew him as the lottery guy, people who ordered the most expensive drinks and never reached for the bill. But I also heard other stories. Stories about bad investments, stories about people taking advantage of him, stories about money disappearing faster than it came. I didn't take pleasure in hearing these things. I just felt sad. Sad for the friend I'd lost, sad for the person he'd become. Meanwhile, I kept working, kept learning, kept building. I failed a lot. My first startup crashed. My second one barely survived. But I learned from every mistake. And slowly, quietly, things started to work. I got my first real client, then 5 more, then 20. I hired a small team. We moved into a co-working space. Nothing fancy, but it was ours, built with hard work, not luck. 2 years after that conversation in Mark's penthouse, I was sitting at my desk in our small office when someone walked through the door. I looked up from my laptop. It was Mark. But it wasn't the Mark I'd seen 2 years ago. This Mark was thin. His clothes were old and worn. His face looked tired, older somehow. His eyes were the same eyes I remembered from our one-room apartment, desperate, scared, human. He stood in the doorway, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, his voice shaking, he said, "Daniel, I'm sorry." I didn't respond immediately. I couldn't. Part of me wanted to yell at him, part of me wanted to hug him, but I just sat there, looking at the person who used to be my best friend. "Sorry for leaving," I said, finally, my voice flat, "or sorry because the money left first." He flinched like I'd hit him, his eyes filled with tears. "I lost everything," he said. "The money's gone. The investments failed. The friends vanished the second my account hit 0. I have no one left, Dan. No one." "You didn't lose everyone," I said, and my voice cracked despite my efforts to stay strong. "You abandoned someone who would have stayed." Mark dropped to his knees right there in my office, tears streaming down his face. "Please," he begged. "I was so stupid. I thought money was forever. I thought those people were real. I was wrong about everything." I closed my eyes, fighting my own tears. When I opened them, I said the words that hurt me as much as they hurt him. "You didn't think money was forever, Mark. You thought I was temporary." He sobbed openly, his shoulders shaking, and I let him feel that pain. He needed to understand what he'd done. After a few minutes, I stood up. Mark looked up at me hopefully, like maybe I was about to forgive everything and take him back like nothing happened. But I couldn't do that. "Sit down," I said. He got up from the floor and sat in the chair across from my desk. He looked at me like a child waiting for judgment. "I won't take you back the way things were," I said. His face fell. "But I won't let you starve either." I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a business card. I wrote something on the back and handed it to him. "It's a job referral, entry-level position at a partner company. No favors, no friendship discount. You'll start at the bottom like everyone else." Mark stared at the card, tears falling onto it. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Why help me after what I did?" I looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Because karma doesn't always come back to punish people, Mark. Sometimes it comes back to teach them." He broke down completely then, crying like I'd never seen him cry before. "I don't deserve you," he said through his tears. I felt my own voice break as I responded, "No, you deserve the lesson." I stood up and walked toward the door. As I passed him, I put my hand on his shoulder for just a second, then I left him there with that card and walked back to my team. Through the glass walls of my office, I could see him sitting there, holding that card like it was both a punishment and a gift, which I suppose it was. 3 months later, I heard he took the job, started showing up early, staying late, learning, working, rebuilding himself from the ground up, the same way I had. We're not friends anymore, not like we used to be. Maybe we never will be again. But sometimes I see him in the office building across the street, and he sees me too. We nod at each other, a silent acknowledgement of everything that happened, everything we lost, everything we learned. People always say karma comes back to haunt you. They say it destroys the people who do wrong. But that's not always true. Sometimes karma doesn't come back to destroy you. It comes back to humble you, to teach you, to remind you who you were before you forgot. Mark lost everything when he lost himself.